inshallah, first and foremost, I want to give Kal halal Yahawah by sham Hamashayach Yahawashi. That's to say, all praise to Yahawah in the name of the Anointed One Yahawashi. Yahawah being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahawashi being the name of the man that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Just going to quickly touch over confusion of face and clear up that kind of misconception, because a lot of people use that to say, to talk about Israelites so they don't look like Israelites. And obviously that is a real thing, because I'm a walking, talking example of that. But that confusion of face is not going into, because they say confusion of face is in not having the right face through mixing, but that's not actually what it's talking about, and we're going to get into that. But that is still a thing. Like I say, I'm a walking example of it, but we're going to clear that up real quick. So I'm going to kick us off with the classic verse that people bring out, Daniel 9 and 7. It's like you'll have to bear with me, it's cold out right now. So this is Daniel chapter 9 verse 7. It says, O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them. So people use this to say, to talk about Israelites that don't look like Israelites anymore because of their mixing with nations, because of the confusion of face part. But we're just going to clear up, because you have to look into the root words, because obviously the Bible wasn't written in English, so they chose certain words when translating. So we're just going to jump over and kind of go over those words. And once again, that is a real thing, but this verse is not talking about that. And I'm just going to clear that up right quick, but I want to go to Genesis chapter 10. Just left you. This is Genesis chapter 10, and I'm going to start verse 8. This is the book of Genesis chapter 10 verse 8. Says, and Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Alright, so it said the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. That word Babel is the same word for Babylon in the Old Testament. In the Hebrew, it's the same word. It's Babel. When you see Babylon, it goes back to the word Babel, which I'll put right here, which means confusion. Okay, so that's the root word for actual genuine confusion. But when we go to Daniel 9 and 7 and look at the root word for confusion of faces, this is the root word bashath, which means shame, right? So we have shame faces. Righteousness belongeth unto the Lord, but unto us shamed faces, right? Because we're ashamed of what we did. A better example is Ezra chapter 9 verse 7. Same chapter verse, different book. So we'll go to Ezra chapter 9 verse 7, which says, no, I'll start at verse 6. It says, and said, O my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to thee, my God, For our iniquities are increased over our head, and our trespass is grown up unto the heavens. So we were so wicked, Ezra was ashamed to even lift up his face to the Most High, right? So it's talking about iniquities and being ashamed, right? Verse 7, since the days of our fathers have we been in a great trespass unto this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And the same root word is right there, bashath, meaning shamefulness. So we were ashamed of our iniquity. So that's what Daniel 9 and 7 is talking about. It's not actually talking about not looking like an Israelite anymore, although that is a real thing, of course. I'm going to show you how. In Numbers chapter 118, we all know the classic. Done. Right, this is Numbers. These cars to pass. This is Numbers chapter 1 verse 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families. Pedigrees, I'll put that on the screen, it goes into bloodline, their children. Their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, by their poles is heads. So they declared their children, their bloodline, their pedigree, after the house of their father. So you are who your father is. It doesn't matter who your mother is. The nation that you come from, you can't be two nations. You can't be an Israelite and a Moabite. You can't be an Israelite and a Hamite. You can't be two different nations. You can only be one. So the nation that you come from is determined by who your father is. Whatever nation your father was is what you are. Okay, so with this in mind, let's say a man of Judah, a so-called African American, took an Edomite wife, a so-called white woman, right? And they had a son. He'd be what we consider mixed race today. But his nationality, his true nation, according to the Most High, because the Most High is not the author of confusion, his true nationality would be according to the house of his father. So he would be an Israelite, not an Edomite. If the roles were reversed, the same mixed race child had a white father and a so-called African American mother, he would be an Edomite, because you are who your father is. So if we go back to the first example, so-called African American Judah had a child by an Edomite woman. That child would be mixed race, and if he did the same thing, he took an Edomite woman when he grew up, they would have an even more mixed race son, more towards the side of the Edomites, looking more genetically like an Edomite. They'd have a stronger genetic influence from the Edomites. Continue that trend. Each son born keeps having Edomite wives down the generations. Eventually, the whole family is going to be. It's going to be impossible to tell them apart. This is the same example of what I am. It's going to be impossible to tell them apart. So this is another thing with these Christians who like to come around and say, oh, why are you so caught up on skin color? Nobody, you're the only people caught up on skin color. The only reason we say white and black man is for the sake of ease, for the sake of layman's terms, because it takes a lot to break this down. So it's just simple and easy to say it like that. But at the end of the day, if you carry on that trend, like each son keeps having an Edomite wife, eventually the whole family down the generations are going to look completely indifferent. It can even happen on the first generation, and that's a perfect example that I have is Ross Barkley, the football player. This is Ross Barkley, and this is his father. Okay, so imagine Ross Barkley also had an Edomite wife. I think he does. I'm not even too sure. I might look if he's got a son, and if he does, he's on the screen. If he's not, he's not. Unless he had it with I don't know. If he had an Edomite son, it's a great example, and it will be there. If not, don't worry about it. But if Ross Barkley had a son with an Edomite woman, he would look even more on the Edomite side of things. Once again, carry on that trend for 10, 20 generations, you're not going to notice the difference. So confusion of face, what people refer to it as, not looking like an Israelite, that is a real thing, but it's not what that verse is talking about. That verse is talking about being ashamed of our iniquity. I just wanted to clear that up right quick. And with that, Lord willing, someone was edified, even just a little. want to say, Kal halal la Yahawah, Ba'asham, Hamashayach, Yahawashi, Shalom.